Dear listeners, before starting the story, I ask you to subscribe to the channel under this video. Your subscription motivates me to make quality content for you. I also ask you to share your opinion about the story in the comments, that's all. Enjoy listening. Part 1. My name is Alex Turner, and this is the story of how my life was shattered by the woman I trusted most. It all began in the vibrant city of Austin, Texas, a place known for its live music, eclectic culture, and endless sunshine. Austin, with its bustling streets, serene lakes, and a skyline that sparkled against the night sky, was the backdrop for a tale of love, betrayal, and ultimate heartbreak. I met Emma 6 years ago at a music festival on the shores of Lady Bird Lake. She was standing near the stage, her blonde hair catching the last rays of the setting sun, and her blue eyes reflecting the excitement of the moment. I was drawn to her immediately, and when she turned and smiled at me, I felt a connection that was almost electric. "Hey, mind if I join you?" I asked, hoping my voice didn't betray my nervousness. "Not at all," she replied with a warm smile. "I'm Emma." "Alex," I said, extending my hand. Our fingers touched, and it felt like the start of something significant. We spent the rest of the evening dancing, laughing, and talking about our favorite bands. By the end of the night, I knew I wanted to see her again. And see her I did, nearly every day after that. Emma was a photographer, her passion evident in the way she captured the world around her. She had a cozy apartment in South Congress, filled with her photos and an impressive collection of vinyl records. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and within a year, we moved in together. Life was perfect, or so I thought. We got married in a small ceremony at Zilker Park, surrounded by our closest friends and family. As we exchanged vows under the ancient oak trees, I felt an overwhelming sense of happiness and commitment. I believed in the promises we made to each other that day, but it turned out that Emma's promises were as fleeting as a Texas spring. 2 years into our marriage, I began to notice subtle changes in Emma. She became more distant, her laughter less genuine, and her eyes often seemed far away. She started coming home late, her excuses flimsy and unconvincing. My initial suspicions were easily dismissed by my love for her, but doubt crept in slowly, like a shadow in the night. One evening, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, I decided to check her phone while she was in the shower. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her messages, my heart pounding with each passing second. There were countless texts from someone named Mark. The messages were intimate, affectionate, and unmistakably romantic. My world crumbled in an instant. Confronting Emma was the hardest thing I've ever done. When I showed her the messages, her face went pale, and she stammered out an apology. "I'm so sorry, Alex," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I never meant for this to happen." "How could you do this to us?" I shouted, the pain and anger boiling over. "How long has this been going on?" She admitted that the affair had been going on for months. She met Mark at a photography workshop, and their connection had quickly turned into something more. The betrayal cut deep, and I felt a rage and sorrow that words could not describe. We tried to salvage our marriage, going to counseling and talking late into the night, but the trust that had been shattered was impossible to rebuild. Every time I looked at Emma, all I could see was her betrayal. The image of her and Mark haunted me day and night. Despite our efforts, the love we once shared was tainted beyond repair. Eventually, I reached my breaking point. One night, as Emma lay sleeping beside me, I packed a bag and left. I moved into a small apartment in East Austin, needing space and time to heal. I focused on my job as a software engineer, threw myself into hobbies, and tried to piece my life back together. Months passed, and I started to find a semblance of normalcy, but the wound of betrayal was still fresh, and I found it hard to trust anyone. That's when I met Lauren. She was a new hire at my company, smart and kind, with a quiet strength that drew me to her. We started working closely on a project, and our professional relationship slowly blossomed into something more. Lauren knew about my past, about Emma, and she was understanding and patient. We started dating, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. We spent weekends exploring Austin, from the food trucks to the hiking trails, and life began to feel vibrant again. But the past has a way of resurfacing when you least expect it. One evening, as Lauren and I were having dinner at a cozy restaurant downtown, my phone buzzed with a message from Emma. It was a simple text. "I need to talk to you. It's important." I stared at the screen, my mind racing. What could she possibly want now? After everything that had happened, I didn't know if I was ready to face her again. But curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet her the next day. We met at a quiet cafe near the University of Texas campus. Emma looked different, tired, worn down by something I couldn't quite place. She told me that she had ended things with Mark, that he wasn't the man she thought he was. She apologized again for everything she had done, tears streaming down her face. And then she dropped a bombshell that I never saw coming. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I was stunned. "Is it?" "Yes," she nodded. "It's yours." My mind reeled. How could this be? We hadn't been together in months. Emma explained that she had found out shortly after we separated but didn't have the courage to tell me until now. She wanted to keep the baby and hoped that somehow we could find a way to co-parent. The news hit me like a freight train. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, confusion, maybe a glimmer of hope. Despite everything, this child was a part of me, a part of us. I agreed to be involved, but I made it clear that I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. Over the next few months, Emma and I navigated the complexities of preparing for a baby while trying to mend our fractured relationship. We attended doctor's appointments together, set up a nursery in her apartment, and slowly started to communicate more openly. Lauren was understanding, though I could see the strain it put on our relationship. The day our son, Ethan, was born was a day of mixed emotions. Holding him in my arms, I felt an overwhelming sense of love and responsibility. He was innocent, a new beginning amidst the ruins of our past. Emma and I had a lot of healing to do, but for Ethan's sake, we were determined to make it work. As the years went by, we settled into a routine. Co-parenting was challenging, but we made it work. Emma and I developed a respectful friendship, bound by our love for Ethan. Lauren and I continued to date, though the complications of my situation weighed heavily on us. Life in Austin continued, with its ever-present music and vibrant city life. I found solace in the small moments of joy with Ethan, watching him grow and discovering the world around him. The pain of betrayal never fully disappeared, but it became a part of my story, a chapter that shaped who I was. One evening, as I was putting Ethan to bed, Lauren came over with a worried look on her face. We had been growing distant, the strain of my past relationship with Emma taking its toll on us. "Alex, we need to talk," she said softly. Sitting down on the couch, I joined her, my heart heavy with a sense of foreboding. "What's on your mind?" "I love you, and I love Ethan, but I don't know if I can do this anymore," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. "It's too much. Your past with Emma, the co-parenting. I feel like there's no room for us, for our future." Her words cut deep, but I understood where she was coming from. The situation was far from ideal, and I couldn't blame her for feeling overwhelmed. "I don't want to lose you, Lauren," I said, my voice breaking, "but I also don't want to keep you in a situation that makes you unhappy." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of the moment pressing down on us. Eventually, Lauren stood up and gave me a sad smile. "I think it's best if we take a break, Alex. Maybe some time apart will help us figure things out." I nodded, unable to find the right words to express the turmoil inside me. Lauren left that night, and I felt a profound sense of loss, as if a piece of my heart had been ripped away. The following weeks were some of the hardest of my life. I threw myself into my work, trying to distract myself from the emptiness I felt. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the reality of my broken relationships. Emma and I continued to co-parent Ethan, but the strain of our past and the complexities of our present weighed heavily on both of us. One evening, after Ethan had gone to bed, Emma and I sat down to talk. "I know this isn't easy for you, Alex," she said, her eyes filled with regret. "I never wanted things to turn out this way." "I know," I replied, my voice hollow. "But it did, and now we have to deal with the consequences." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of our shared history pressing down on us. Eventually, Emma reached out and took my hand. "Maybe it's time for us to start fresh," she said softly, "for Ethan's sake." I nodded, though deep down, I wasn't sure if starting fresh was even possible. The scars of betrayal ran too deep, and the path to healing seemed more elusive than ever. Months turned into years, and life moved on in its relentless march forward. Emma and I did our best to create a stable environment for Ethan, but the fractures in our relationship never fully healed. Lauren moved on, finding someone who could offer her the uncomplicated love she deserved. As for me, I remained in Austin, a city that held so many memories, both good and bad. I focused on being the best father I could be, finding moments of joy in Ethan's laughter and milestones. But the pain of the past never truly faded, a constant reminder of what had been lost. Looking back, I realized that life is unpredictable, filled with twists and turns that we can never anticipate. Betrayal had shattered my world, leaving me to pick up the pieces. It taught me the harsh reality that love and trust are fragile, and once broken, they can never be fully restored. This is my story, a story of love and betrayal, of heartbreak and survival. It's a story of lessons learned the hard way, and the enduring scars that come with betrayal. And through it all, I learned that sometimes there is no happy ending, only the strength to move forward and find a way to live with the pain. Part 2. As the years went on, I threw myself into my work and my role as a father. Ethan was growing up fast, and I wanted to ensure he had a stable and loving environment despite the fractured nature of his parents' relationship. Emma and I managed to maintain a civil co-parenting arrangement, but the trust and love we once shared were irreparably damaged. Ethan was a bright and curious child, always asking questions and eager to learn about the world around him. He was the light in my life, and I found joy in watching him grow and discover new things. We spent weekends exploring Austin, from kayaking on Lady Bird Lake to visiting the Texas state capitol. These moments became the foundation of our bond, a bond that grew stronger with each passing year. Emma had found success in her photography career, her work being featured in galleries and magazines. She seemed happy, and I was glad for her, even if it was hard to see her move on from the life we once shared. Our interactions remained cordial for Ethan's sake, but there was an unspoken understanding that the wounds of the past would never fully heal. One day, as I was picking Ethan up from school, his teacher, Mrs. Daniels, pulled me aside. "Mr. Turner, could I have a word with you?" she asked, her expression serious. "Of course," I replied, feeling a knot form in my stomach. "Ethan's been having a bit of trouble in class lately," she began. "He's been distracted and withdrawn, and I've noticed he's been having difficulty focusing on his work. I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's unusual for him." I felt a pang of concern. Ethan had always been an enthusiastic student, and hearing that he was struggling was troubling. "Thank you for letting me know," I said. "I'll talk to him and see if there's anything going on that he hasn't shared with me." That evening, after dinner, I sat down with Ethan in his room. "Hey, buddy, how was school today?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "It was okay," he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. "Mrs. Daniels mentioned that you've been having some trouble focusing lately. Is everything all right?" He shrugged, still avoiding eye contact. "I don't know. I guess I just miss you and Mom being together." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. Despite our efforts to keep things amicable, the impact of our separation was clearly affecting him. "I'm sorry, Ethan," I said softly. "I know it's been hard, but just because your mom and I aren't together doesn't mean we don't both love you very much." "I know," he replied, his voice small. "But sometimes I just wish things could go back to the way they were." I pulled him into a hug, feeling a deep sense of sadness and helplessness. How could I explain to him the complexities of adult relationships and the pain of betrayal? As time went on, I continued to support Ethan the best I could, providing a stable and loving environment for him. But the guilt of not being able to give him the family he longed for weighed heavily on me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had failed him in some fundamental way. Emma and I continued to navigate the challenges of co-parenting, but the strain of our past made it difficult to fully move forward. We attended therapy sessions together, hoping to find a way to better communicate and support Ethan, but the underlying tension was always there. One night, after a particularly heated argument with Emma about a minor issue, I found myself sitting alone in my apartment, feeling the weight of my failures pressing down on me. The walls seemed to close in, and I felt an overwhelming sense of despair. I reached out to Lauren, hoping for a comforting voice in the darkness. She answered, her voice warm and familiar, but I could hear the distance in her tone. "Hey, Alex, how are you doing?" she asked. "I'm struggling," I admitted. "Everything feels like it's falling apart, and I don't know how to fix it." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I'm sorry you're going through this, Alex. I really am. But I think it's time for both of us to move on. Holding on to the past is only hurting us more." Her words, though kind, felt like another blow. I knew she was right, but letting go was easier said than done. "Take care of yourself, Alex, and take care of Ethan. He needs you," she said softly before hanging up. I sat there in the silence, feeling the crushing weight of loneliness and regret. The choices I had made, the mistakes, and the betrayals had all led me to this point. I had lost so much: my marriage, my chance at a future with Lauren, and the simple happiness I once took for granted. As the months turned into years, the pain never fully faded. I continued to be there for Ethan, watching him grow into a remarkable young man despite the turmoil in our lives. He was my anchor, the reason I kept going, even when it felt impossible. Emma and I found a way to coexist, but the love that once bound us was gone, replaced by a fragile truce. We did our best for Ethan, but the shadow of our past loomed large, a constant reminder of what could have been. This is the story of my life, a tale of love, betrayal, and the enduring scars that come with it. There were no happy endings, only the strength to carry on and find moments of joy in the midst of the pain. And through it all, I learned that sometimes the best we can hope for is to survive and find a way to live with the heartache. Part 3. As Ethan approached his teenage years, the challenges of co-parenting grew more complex. His curiosity and independence led to new dynamics in our relationship, and Emma and I had to navigate the inevitable struggles that came with raising a teenager. Despite the difficulties, I was determined to be the best father I could be, even as the pain of the past lingered in the background. One afternoon, Ethan came home from school with a troubled expression on his face. He dropped his backpack by the door and slumped onto the couch. "Hey, bud, what's going on?" I asked, sensing something was bothering him. He sighed heavily. "It's just, there's this girl at school, and she's been spreading rumors about me. It's really getting to me." I sat down beside him, feeling a pang of empathy. "I'm sorry to hear that, Ethan. High school can be tough. Do you want to talk about it?" He looked at me, his eyes filled with frustration and hurt. "It just feels like no matter what I do, people always find something to pick on. I try to be nice, to fit in, but it's never enough." I placed a hand on his shoulder, offering him a reassuring squeeze. "High school is hard, but it's important to remember that people's opinions don't define you. You are a kind, smart, and amazing person. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." Ethan nodded, though I could see the weight of the situation still bearing down on him. We spent the evening talking, and I tried to impart as much wisdom and encouragement as I could. It was moments like these that made me realize the profound responsibility of parenthood, the need to be a constant source of support and love. As the years passed, Ethan continued to grow and mature, and I couldn't have been prouder of the young man he was becoming. Despite the challenges and the heartache, he was resilient and determined. He excelled in his studies, developed a passion for music, and formed close friendships that helped him navigate the ups and downs of adolescence. Emma and I managed to maintain a respectful co-parenting relationship, though the emotional distance between us remained. We both attended Ethan's school events, supported his interests, and celebrated his achievements. Our shared love for him was a powerful bond, even if our personal relationship was irreparably damaged. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, Ethan approached me with a serious look on his face. "Dad, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice steady but nervous. "Of course, what's on your mind?" I asked, setting down the knife I was using to chop vegetables. He took a deep breath. "I've decided to apply to colleges out of state. I know it's a big decision, but I think it's what's best for me."